You're a Disney human being, you've probably seen my hit video ranking TF2 maps based on accessibility. It was such a hit I didn't give it a sequel because I felt like that was the wrong thing to do. Imagine how hard the banana core stocks would have plummeted if the sequel didn't do well. Well, now it's time to give it a spin-off. Same basic idea of a TF2 map being analyzed for relevant reasons. I would have done with TF2 maps OSHA violations, but I'm not certified, so instead I'm going to look at these maps' functions. This is defined here as how a map would be used outside of combat. For example, how good is Harvest at being a farm, or how good is Steel at being a steel mill, or how good are you at subscribing to support my antics? Haha. This awesome gamer video is starting in 3, 2, 1. So here we are on Harvest, the hit TF2 map. I'm on Gmod Harvest right now, so the textures might be a little messed up. So Harvest is meant to be like a farm, right? Because, you know, Harvest is in its name. And you already tell that there's a bunch of farming buildings, especially on the red side and the blue side. Even though blue usually stands more of an industrial type of entity on maps like, say, 2 Fort. Both sides here seem to be into the farming. You know, you've got your tractor, weird old cars out here. Great times. You got your wagon wheels. It even says Happy Farmers over here. It says Cornwell over here. You know, I don't know the true lore of TF2, but these are great. Red bread. You know, red bread. I'm sure they make a lot of bread. If you do a bit of an aerial view here, you'll be able to tell that the whole map is just these buildings here, and there doesn't seem to be much farmland outside here. Probably that should be farmland. I feel like this would be farmland if this is realistic. As you can see, they probably just farm everything out here and bring it into these buildings to process it. So I'm gonna say the Harvest probably functions pretty well as a farm, because you got all the central buildings for housing and processing the food and the farm stuff, and then you got all the farms surrounding it, I'd assume. If this wasn't farmland though, it'd be a very terrible place. Maybe just a central hub for manufacturing, I guess, if this was to just be a weird set of buildings in the middle of nowhere. But I'm gonna 100% assume that the world out there is just full of farm. Okay, so I'm gonna give Harvest probably an 8 out of 10 on its function scale. Probably does very well at its job, I'd say. If it didn't have the farmland, it had probably give it a 4 out of 10, because it still works at doing a function of processing food. I mean, how well it processes food is a bit of a question, because, I mean, they have some machines inside of the buildings here, but most of the buildings are just empty. And of course, this is for gameplay reasons, but, you know, we'd only have to assume that some places in here, such as this door that kind of just... Wow, that's actually interesting. That door does go somewhere. So the only thing in here that functions on the blue side is this mill or whatever it is. It's a mill, I think. I mean, on the second floor, it's interesting. There ain't nothing there. It's general industries, so it's pretty industrial, I'd guess. And this is a thing you're going to see repeating throughout the YouTube maps, where there's not many things that would really function. Well, this is also confusing. What the hell? This is exit, and there's another door on the other side. I guess you're just gonna come out of the chimney then. Red side, we got the same thing, but it's red. You've got just the one machine. So I'm gonna give everything, maybe its processing power of the place, more of a lower scale. But again, overall, 8 out of 10 if it had a farmland, 4 out of 10 if it was just a function of the factories. So here we are on Sawmill. I think the textures here are a little messed up, but you should still tell what it is. So I think we're on red side, or no, we're on blue side right now. A Sawmill, again, by name, should function as a sawmill. So that's what you're looking for here. See this big giant building where you spawn in. Really just does nothing, I guess. Does nothing. There's some logs out here, which implies that, yeah, there's sawing some mills here. Pretty obvious. It's got electricity, or at least some kind of telegraph line, but it has electricity, I think. It has plenty of woods around it, which again implies that this is probably very useful for sawing some wood. More wood around here. You got some stumps that have been chopped down, some processed wood over here. No trespassing. More stuff. They have a giant hole in their basement where it's just a weird base. I'm sure this functions well as a base too, for many things that they could do with bases. But those textures are double messed up. They've even got water cooling here. You know, that's useful. Going forward, this giant saw blade building right here. Building right here probably used for sawing stuff. You know, process wood out here. I'd assume they just process the wood in there. Some more chopped down tree stumps, more wood. Giant saw. This building probably for nothing. It's just a weird storage place. And we're gonna go to the main attraction. The 2 giant saw blades that are on this map. They have basketball hoops. You can... That's really funny, actually. They have a log that's just kind of holding in the air for some reason. I don't know what they're going to do with the log. Covering up a hole to this weird place. What is down here? That's odd. Well, I guess maybe it's an elevation thing to some underground facility, I'd assume. So 2 giant saw blades, immediately making this place actually function as a saw area if you have saw blades. So immediately, that's great. So blue side, functional, the middle area, functional. This is blood on it, that's great. Red side is just a weird version of the blue side. Everything here is pretty much exactly the same. You know, I've got dynamite here for blowing up your wood. Sawmill is probably one of the most functional maps in TF2. We don't know what all these buildings do. We only really know what the central building processes and does, but you know. Hold that. Here on the red side, we've also got this building where they've got tons of done wood kind of stored up. Which really, this whole place is full of planked wood and unplanked wood. I'd say that this map is a 10 out of 10 functionality. It completely functions for its purpose. 10 out of 10. If we got a cool mine over here, 10 out of 10 function for the sawmill. That's great. So here we are on a bit of an unexpected map, I'd assume. We're on NVM's Man vs Machines, Manhattan. So, you know, starting area, upgrades, everything. Back here you have this weird shovel thing where they're selling shovels, I guess. Where are the shovels priced? All the shovels are $9.99.99. That's great. This shovel is special. They got that shovel rotating. So I assume there's sort of store you can walk into. Over here, you have storage areas for more shovels. Just shovels upon shovels. So I'm gonna go into this guessing that maybe this place manufactures shovels. But I'm not sure about that. This giant area, yeah, this definitely gives me warehouse vibes. Yeah, they're storing stuff in here. Giant doors for trucks and cars to come in. This next open area, they got a train line running under here. Could probably be used to somehow... So the train probably runs under the water, or it doesn't. But they got, the skybox has some trains going to a giant cargo ship over there. Very functional, I guess, for that. Just a weird floating metro over here. What? That's kind of weird. Yeah, this map's kind of wacky. Oh, the metro kind of just pulls by every now and then, I guess. That was kind of weird how it just kind of floats there. Okay, so first building we're gonna go check out is Manhattan. Use fireworks and repair. You know, if you see an open fire, extinguish it immediately with your body. Not very OSHA compliant, but you know, I'm not the judge. Next we got Lumpy Bros Butter for Less. They got giant butter machines here, so you know, they make butter. I'm not sure what the firework factory, probably something in here that fireworks a lot. Except for the fact that that door completely just leads to an outside world. I'm gonna give the Manhattan use fireworks a 0 out of 10. I'll take a function. Maybe on the second floor they'd have a building, but there's also no doors or no way to the second floor at all. Kind of irresponsible to kind of just have an empty second floor, I guess. Next area you've got here is a giant area for just containers that they've kind of got stored around. Again, probably relating to that boat over there. This main building we spawned into is called Seaside Exports. So I'd assume that part of this building actually functions together with the railroad down here and over there to export goods. Tell by this horrifyingly wacky architecture that they've got. So we're gonna move on to Pinker Paw Packaging. Big building. Oh, I forgot, on Gmod, if you stand on capture points on MVM, it'll start capturing. Kind of weird fashion. Kind of odd in my opinion, but you know. Behind Pinker Paw Packaging, you have the giant MVM craft for the blue team. Really interesting to actually see it flying around. I haven't seen it like this before. Kind of cool. Really cool, actually. I'd assume they just kind of came out of the water somehow, because it works like it would function. It looks like it would function as a boat too, instead of just a massive tank. Pinker Paw Packaging probably packages something. I mean, there's nothing in here, but they'll probably do something. Maybe again on that second floor you can't access. And then we come up to our next building. Captain Day's wood pulp, now legal to eat. So this building completely functions as it should. There's even a banana here you can sip on. Entering it entirely just in any way it kills you. That's great. Yeah, so they got a lot of stuff stored around here. Wood pulp place probably functions completely as it should, but I'll show Pinker Paw Packaging. I'm not gonna rate those buildings. Next up, we are entering the main building. Giant factory or warehouse that we have here. Again, I'm not gonna deal with the OSHA regulations. This place right here, I don't know what this is for. I don't know what they use it for. Point A, probably just a sort of export facility they use to bring stuff out. Here we got more empty space, and they're storing stuff in here. There's spaces here probably could be used for cars and forklifts because it's kind of big and everything. Here you have all of this. They got a giant gas tank, so they're storing all kinds of stuff in here, really. Out here you can tell. Out here you can see that there's a rail that goes to nothing and just some cars stored out here. Right next to this big area. You can see the beautiful Manhattan skyline from here. Very nice thing right there. And I think that's every building here reviewed. There's this giant staircase I've never noticed before that goes all the way up to this comically tall doorway right there. That again will probably lead you to absolutely nothing because that's where the building is. Good work, Valve. Good work. Very great stuff here. I'd say that Manhattan probably does make shovels, considering that Manhattan also exists here selling their shovels. So this factory probably makes shovels in some sort of function. Maybe on anything. I don't really know what this anything here is. I'm scared. Every TF2 building is just so confusing. I think I'm gonna have to... Okay, so we're gonna say Manhattan here. Since we're so close to the ships and the rail lines, this is probably an export area facility. Maybe some light manufacturing with the fireworks and the butter for less and the pulp. You know, small factory here. Probably functions for exporting, and for that, I'm gonna give Manhattan a 6 out of 10 at what it does. Some of the buildings probably suck at doing their job. Some of the buildings are good at doing their job. 6 out of 10 for Manhattan. So here we are on our final map, Steel. You know, where I'm sure they make steel. Off in the blue spawn. This building probably uses a base for stuff. Offices, you know. Offices are important to buildings like this. They plot stuff out here. So coming out of blue spawn, giant rail line. The rail is probably very useful for exporting stuff, but it seems here that they've got one cart and a caboose that kind of just leads into another cart somehow. For some reason, with the engine. Rail, probably useful. It's very useful, I'd assume. We're gonna go to main area, point A. Coming down to point A, we're gonna see that we're completely in red's function now. Blue's entire building seems to be some sort of processing place, probably for steel, as you'd assume. Giant factories and weird rails that you would never be able to see in regular gameplay, I'd assume. Oh, you could see the rails in gameplay. Blue is always the factory place, but so is red in this case. Red seems to have the much more impressive manufacturing facility here, and they've even got a rocket for some reason here. So I'd assume that they're trying to manufacture a rocket. So here you're probably processing raw iron that they're digging out of the soil or picking up from rail lines. Or putting it out onto these conveyors that will take it over to this building right here. This building probably does something to it, and then this building will then carry it over to this next building. This original red area right here is completely a transfer facility, I'd assume, through conveyors onwards. So if we follow the steel further down the line, we're going to see that it goes down here to this building. This building does something. I don't know what it does. It might be a chute or something. And we lose track of the iron or steel or whatever it is. It's also, we could infer that it might be transferred onto this track here or this track, but we're just going to ignore that. You know, this building is such a building that I building sometimes. This red building is entirely some kind of weird place. Coal company. So I'd assume that they're also bringing in coal to function. Coal and iron are required to produce steel. So we're going to bring in coal from over here, and coal goes into this building. I'd assume that the steel also goes in this building too. So going into the red main building, we're going to see giant area on E that's just a rocket ship for some reason. This completely doesn't function to produce steel, except for maybe these lower pipes down here and conveyors. But the rocket ship could be its own thing for function too. Going on to C. C seems to be a sort of analytical place. They got radar here and radio stuff, you know. The steel and iron continue to move through here, probably being processed throughout these buildings. We can only... the entire area over here is very confusing. It's some kind of base. Our red spawn is just a kind of base where they probably process the steel fashion that could be described as processing steel. There's a lot of stuff you have to infer of steel, but just judging by these giant plumes, these giant smokestacks, giant conveyor lines, rail stations, and everything, I'd have to guess that steel probably functions a 7 out of 10 at its function. We can assume that it makes steel, as it is implied that it makes steel by its name, but so can blue be making steel. Both sides probably producing steel. I'd say very useful. So final verdict, 7 out of 10.